Please stand by.
Loading. Loading complete.
30,
29, 28,
27,
26,
25, 24,
23,
22,
21, 20, 18,
17,
16, 15, 14, 13,
12,
11, 10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
4,
2,
1. Now for what you've all been waiting for.
Good morning, good day, good evening, good night, good wherever it happens to be where you are. And hello to everybody watches this in the future. I see. It looks like we got 4 people watching, but I don't see anyone in the chat. So step right up, step right up. Don't be nervous, don't be shy. Come and say hi. Well, I normally start with a little opening song of Ain't We Got Fun? But seeing as we have St. Patty's Day just around the corner or in a few hours, maybe start with a little bit different song. And I haven't really practiced any of these, so hope you have your earplugs ready. When Irish eyes are smiling, sure it's like a morning in the spring. In the tear of the Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing. When Irish hearts are happy, all the world seems bright and gay. And when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they steal your hearts away. When Irish hearts are happy, all the world seems bright and gay. When Irish eyes are smiling, sure they steal your heart away. Yeah, Irish Eyes. Of course, I came up across another song which was made for a while by a during this stuff. This was actually he written and performed originally by a woman named Maud Nugent, and the song is "Sweet Rosie O'Grady." Just down around the corner of the street where I reside, there lives the cutest little girl that I have ever spied. Her name is Rosie O'Grady, and I don't mind telling you that she's the sweetest little rose the garden ever knew. Sweet Rosie O'Grady, my dear little rose, she's my steady lady, most everyone knows. And when we are married, how happy we'll be. I love sweet Rosie O'Grady, and Rosie O'Grady loves me. I never shall forget the day she promised to be mine, as we sat telling love's tales in the golden summertime. 'Twas on her finger that I placed a small engagement ring, while in the trees the little birds the song they seemed to sing. Sweet Rosie O'Grady, my dear little rose, she's my steady lady, most everyone knows. And when we are married, how happy we'll be. I love sweet Rosie O'Grady, and Rosie O'Grady loves me. Yeah, of course, these two, who obviously he married, and they ended up having a daughter apparently, because we have another song here about just about her. Yesterday, out walking, I met a dear little girl. Somehow we started talking. My brain was all in a whirl. She said she came from old Killarney, so I started in to quiz. I got a surprise that opened my eyes. For who do you think she is? She's the daughter of Rosie O'Grady, a regular old-fashioned girl. She isn't crazy for diamond rings, silkens and satins and fancy things. She's just a sweet little lady, and when you meet her you'll see. Well, I'm glad I called her the daughter of Rosie O'Grady. I'm going to ask her to marry. I wonder what she will say. I know if I should tarry, someone will steal her away. I've got the ring to fit her finger, and if she will name the day, imagine my pride when she is my bride, and I hear the neighbors say, she's the daughter of Rosie O'Grady, a regular old-fashioned girl. She isn't crazy for diamond rings, silkens and satins and fancy things. She's just a sweet little lady, and when you meet her you'll see. Well, I'm glad I called her the daughter of Rosie O'Grady. Ah, no practice. So I hope that was okay for you guys. Come on, say hi. Don't be shy. So, wait, I got a little bit of crud in my throat here today, so just trying to get a little bit of my Tullamore Dew honey to clear my throat. Boy. Always pair when you're on live. Pair your alcohol with water. Very important. You don't want to get drunk on stream. Now, let's see here. What shall we do next? How about we cover the artist for today. That sounds like a good move. Yeah, Casey's his creepy creations. Stay low. Glad to see you here. And for those of you watching, go subscribe to him. He has some excellent story he to tell. In fact, next time I might even have to highlight you as an artist one of these days. That's today's artist is for today shall be Esther Ajay. AJ. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, and you happen to be watching, please correct me. But this fine lady is into crochet, and we can see some of her work right here. She has a nice crocheted rose, and a very nice blue rose. I really like that. And I also like how you put together the collage of images here. This nice, makes a very nice mosaic that you did right here. Let's see. I find a few more of your things here. This looks like, I'm guessing this is another one of your works here with the crocheted faces. Let's take a look at your Instagram. I bet there's probably more there than there is on Twitter X here. Yes. Go here. And already got the blankets. Of course, you gotta have the blankets if you're doing crocheting. Oh, you got a nice, interesting hat here. I think it's crochet. Oh, durag. Excuse me. A durag. And again, the crochet pretty in pink with little ears. Crocheting the flowers on. What is this? This is a dress or is it a blanket? Can't quite tell. I don't think this is you're doing any commissions or anything, but oh yeah, you have a TikTok, I see. Yarn never goes out of style. Well, I guess I can't argue with that. And in a world where it's probably good to do more DEI stuff, crocheting is definitely a good skill to have. So, moving right along. I'd be delighted to showcase you someday. Maybe a couple more songs here, so we'll get the old wheel going. What do we have? Let's see what we got here. My brain wants to blip out on the lyrics right now. That's just lovely. So I'm gonna have to look it up. There we are. Me and my shadow strolling down the avenue. Me and my shadow, not a soul to tell our troubles to. And when it's 12 o'clock, we climb the stairs. We never knock, 'cause no one's there. It's just me and my shadow, all alone and feeling blue. Yeah, it's a short one. So, let's get a couple more in while we're at it. Again with the wheel. This time we've got Hello My Baby. All right, the frog song. That's a good one. I've got a little baby, she's out of sight. I talk to her across the telephone. I haven't seen my honey, but she's mine, alright. So take my tip and leave this gal alone. Every single morning you hear me yell, "Hey Central, fix me up across the line." You connect me with my honey, and I ring the bell. And this is what I say to baby mine. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss by wire. Baby, my heart's on fire. If you refuse me, honey, lose me, then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone and tell me I'm your own. Hello, hello, baby. Hello, I guess you can't hear me. The wires must be crossed somewhere. Hello, hello, I said hello this morning through the phone. She said her name's Bess. Now I kind of know where I am at. I'm satisfied because I got my baby's dress. You're pasted in the lining of my hat. I'm mighty scared if someone who's get crossed. So me for my baby mine. Some other fool will win her. And the game is lost. So each day I shout across the line. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss by wire. Baby, my heart's on fire. If you refuse me, honey, lose me, then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone and tell me I'm your own. Come on, baby. Ah, darn it. I messed that one up. But guess I'll have to do one more then. DJ, hey, play nice. Hello, hello, hello. Nice to have you here. So, one more. Here we go here. No whammies, no whammies, no whammies, no whammies. Give me regards to Broadway. There's one. Okay, that's a fun one to do. All right. Sure, we can do that one. Do you ever see two Yankees part upon a foreign shore? When the good ship's just about to start for old New York once more. With tear-dimmed eyes they say goodbye, they're friends without a doubt. And the man on the pier shouts, "Let them clear," as the ship strikes out. Give my regards to Broadway, remember me to Herald Square. Tell all the gang at 42nd Street that I will soon be there. Whisper of how I'm yearning to mingle with the old-time throng. Give my regards to Broadway and say that I'll be there ere long. Say hello to dear old Coney Island if there you chance to be. When you're at the Wardrough, have a smile and charge it up to me. Mention my name every place you go, as around the town you roam. We should call on my gal. Now remember, old pal, when you get back home. Give my regards to Broadway. Remember me to Herald Square. Tell all the gang at 42nd Street that I will soon be there. Whisper of how I'm yearning to mingle with the old-time throng. Give my regards to Broadway and say that I'll be there ere long. All right. Did not mess that one up, at least. But I'm sure there's a few ears are bleeding after that, so I do apologize. Now, let's see, where are we here? 17. All right, I think we can get on to one of our more main topics here. Well, I was having some difficulty coming up with what to do for this particular stream. And then on Wednesday, I found out it happened to be Frank Welker's birthday. Now, Frank Welker happens to be someone who I consider to be the voice of my childhood, at least one of them, I should say. And it just seemed fitting to do something on his birthday. So, start things off. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Fred Megatron, Unhefty, Bronx, Sabu, Mr. Mystical, Blink, Brain, and many more. Happy birthday to you. Yes, it is Frank it was Frank Welker's birthday on Wednesday, so we're going to have a little honor of him. And to start things off, one of his main characters, of course, was, of course, well, we have a lot of the characters that we see surrounded here. I didn't include, there's so many, I can't include everybody on this list. And so we got the Beagle Boys there, there's Tummy Gummy, he apparently did Garfield at one point, or at least one of the characters, some of the characters of Garfield. We did Raja as well. I'm sure you recognize many of these characters. Dino. And of course, there's more of his characters as he's voiced over the years. No, just imagine that. That annoying wheelie. Megatron had the same voice actor. A couple of Smurfs, Animaniacs characters, Tiny Toon characters. I mean, of course, his main character Fred, from um, Scooby Doo. Where are you? Or now, originally, Don Messick, who passed in 1997, and was the voice of Scooby. And after Don passed, it fell to Scott Innes. But in 2002, with the cartoon series What's New Scooby Doo, Frank Welker took over voicing Scooby. It seems to have basically taken on the role from there on, except for the video games, which Scott Innes still does. So, of course, we have Don Masick here, and Scott Innes with his collection of video games that he voiced Scooby for, and Scooby himself. And of course, here's Frank also voiced is the character Jabberjaw in the show by the same name, which was going to be named the Neptunes. And Jabberjaw his speech mannerisms are based on Curly from the Three Stooges, and his catchphrase "No respect" is a reference to Rodney Dangerfield. Frank, I don't have the clip for it, but shot for it. But Frank also voiced Curly, of the Three Stooges, in the animated the Three Stooges show. And of course, he voiced Hefty Smurf, along with a number of other Smurfs, Wild Smurf, Poet Smurf. And he provided voices for other characters as well. On the Smurfs show from 1981 to 1989. The creator of the Smurfs was against the Smurfs having any distinct personalities, which apparently, obviously, he conceded on. And seeing as we have a whole bunch of one-note personalities for the Smurfs. Originally for the cartoon, they had planned to put Hefty in a leopard print skin in like a circus strongman. But due to the objections of the creator, this was changed to the heart tattoos. In Inspector Gadget, Frank Welker voiced Brain, Dr. Claw, and Mad Cat. Frank Welker reprised his role as Dr. Claw in the Robot Chicken episode, Adoption and Options. Cree Summer was also returned as Penny for that episode. I also came across a rather interesting little fan rumor that Dr. Claw was actually the original Inspector Gadget. The theory for this goes is that after the explosion that injured or that seemed to injure or possibly kill the original Inspector Gadget, Penny, distraught by the loss of her uncle, built a robot version of her uncle, which is the one that we see doing around and doing the crime fighting. Whereas the original Inspector Gadget, it became Dr. Claw, obsessed and outraged by the replacement and by his robot double. You know, for the most part, this theory he tracks, though it's pretty obvious. It's later on in that with the face reveal was of Doctor Claw with the the toy. And they obviously didn't go down this route for the official canon. But I still thought it was a pretty interesting little fan in theory. Uh, in Dungeons and Dragons, the animated series, he's Frank Welker, who voiced. He's the baby unicorn Uni. Now, I would recommend steering far away from current day Dungeons and Dragons. So, if you happen to be skilled enough to revise anything in the current stuff, if to fit some of the older versions of the game, I recommend doing that for this. But as part of the revised fifth edition of Dungeons and Dragons in 2024, Wizards of the Coast was released a number of resources based on the 80s TV show, including in art and in Vanguard and the children now grown up, playable character sheet needs of all the characters, magic item and blocks for all of the children's original artifacts given them by the dungeon master, and and an adventure called Uni and the Hunt for the Lost Horn. So, like I said, if it happens to be a halfway decent adventure, see if you can revise it for the older version instead of this instead of the more updated version. See if it works for you. And of course, he was the voice of Generation 1 Megatron. And not only that, he voiced quite a number of characters. There's, I mean, you have Mixmaster, as we mentioned, in the annoying wheelie in later versions. But he also voiced Soundwave in pretty much all the cassette characters that came out of him. Ravage, Rumble, Mixmaster, Laserbeak, Sky. Oh, he also did Skywar. Or plus the Interceptor. That the I did not. I forgot to grab the clip for that. Hold on. I will just fix this real quick here. I can't believe I forgot to put that clip in. Oh. Okay, where did I put the clip? Let's see here. Oh, there we are. I'll just put this up here real quick. I can switch over. So we'll just take this down real quick. And you shall share the screen instead for the next clip. Because this is part of the trivia here. The early version, sporting a different black head, a very different in scope, fusion cannon, and the guns. This is a prototype ape Megatron. And barrel on its back managed to make its way into not only an early commercial for the animated series and licensed material, but into an art of the early Marvel comics. So that's basically what you're seeing here. Now I'm thinking if they really wanted to do this with a little bit of canon, and have this be the version of him as D16. Before he took on the name Megatron when he was young, and just getting into the gladiator pits. I think that would be an awesome little nod to add. So we'll get back to the slideshow here. And of course, he voiced in The Real Ghostbusters, which is one of my favorite uh, cartoons, Ray Stantz, and Slimer. Now, a little tidbit of information. In The Real Ghostbusters cartoons, where Slimer got his name, in the original movie script, it was referred to as Onion Head. And he was created in a cocaine and, and induced hallucination and of Now, Frank Welker would go on to reprise his role voicing Ray Stantz in the Extreme Ghostbusters in 1997 as well. He voiced the character of Bronx in Gargoyles from 1994 to 1997. And in early development of the series, Bronx was slated to be the comic relief character of the show. He was described as an angst-ridden, the one member of the clan who really wasn't happy about being awake in the modern world. Concept drawing suggests Bronx being able to hover just a few inches above the ground by flapping slightly oversized his ears like a hummingbird. It was later decided that Bronx would be more interesting if he acted more like an actual dog rather than a cartoon pooch. Good choice, by the way. Hey, people who made that show. He also, of course, Frank also voiced Abu from the animated Aladdin, and I believe he also revised his voice acting career for the lackluster movie, the real life movie of it as well. I actually did get to see the live action version of Aladdin while I was in the hospital a few weeks ago, and yeah, it was a pale imitation of the animated version. And I really hate to say this, but actually I do like some of Will Smith's singing, but he managed to kind of butcher the songs. Frank Welker also voiced Stripe, along with providing voices for some of the Mugwai and Gremlins in the movie Gremlins. And here's a little interesting tidbit of information. And originally, Gizmo was to become the Gremlin Stripe. This early script was much darker than the final version, with Billy's his mom getting beheaded by the Gremlins, among other things. Later on in the sequel of Gremlins 2, The New Batch, he became the voice of Mohawk, the wannabe Stripe. Mohawk was the only mutated gremlin spawned from Gizmo. The other mutants were gremlins spawned from the other gremlins who got wet in the series, in the movie. And here's a little thing that probably you wouldn't have realized. There's a Mohawk in his mutated form. I thought that was a pretty good shot of him right there. Something you probably didn't realize. In Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, the screams that you hear Spock making when he's going through an accelerated Vulcan puberty is actually Frank Welker. This scene takes place around the 57-minute mark, so if you want to go and check that out on your own copy, go right ahead. Something to keep in mind when you hear it next time. And of course, in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, he voiced the character of Razar, or Razar, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Both are apparently correct. Originally, the movie planned to use Bebop and Rocksteady, but the creators objected, in part because of the legal clearances they would have to go through. Lard had stated he didn't want them in any movie. He's saying it's not so much that I dislike the characters so intensely, but more that I found in their constant one note shtick. Like in the first animated series, used to be extremely annoying and silly to the point of being stupid. As such, the original characters, Toka and Razar, were created for the movie. Personally, I kind of wish they were just allowed to have Bebop up in Rocksteady in that movie. I'm sure we have gotten them a much truer, the form and version what we later end up getting in the Michael Bay movies. And finally, ending with a bit of an obscure one, we have Satan, aka the Devil, from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. He, uh, Frank also helped to provide voices for the evil Easter Bunny, and he also helped with the voice of Station. Though we have three different people credited to do the voice of Station, and Frank Welker is actually uncredited in this film. I got a little gnat that wants to fly around in my drink right now. Get away, gnat. Shoo, you bother me. So, of course, I had to leave out quite a number of his characters for this list, just for the sake of time. But, so, and I thought I'd throw this in a little bit. Something I kind of came across just before the show started. Frank Welker was also a number of voices is in the Super Friends cartoon series, voicing Darkseid, Killback, the Joker, Ace, the Penguin, and Mr. Mixelplex, which I referenced in the birthday song. Yeah, I guess we should start breaking up the next segment here with a couple more songs. Oh, look at that. We're actually on time for now. Can you believe it? I've been in behind schedule for a while here. Putting on the Ritz. All right. Keeping the energy high tonight, looks like. That's good. It's good. Have you seen the well-to-do up on Lexing Avenue on the famous thoroughfare with their noses in the air? High hats and narrow collars, wide spats and $15, spending every dime for a wonderful time. If you're blue and you know where to go to, why don't you go where Harlem flits? Putting on the Ritz. Spangled gowns up on the devy of highbrows from down the levee, all misfits. Putting on the Ritz. That's where each and every Lulu Belle goes. Every Thursday evening with her swell bows, rubbing elbows, come with me and we'll attend their jubilee and see them spend their last 2 bits. Putting on the Ritz. If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where Harlem flits? Putting on the Ritz. Spangled downs upon the devy of highbrows from down the levee, all misfits. putting on the Ritz. That's where each and every Lulu Belle goes. Every Thursday evening with her swell bows, rubbing elbows, come with me and we'll attend their jubilee and see them spend their last 2 bits. Putting on the Ritz. Come with me and we'll attend their jubilee and see them spend their last 2 bits. Putting on the Ritz. Putting on the Ritz. Putting on the Ritz. Oh. Righty then. And keeping things going here. Shall we get Beautiful Dreamer? Alright. This one gets stuck in my head once you sing it. Beautiful dreamer, wake unto me. Starlights and dewdrops are waiting for thee. Sounds of the rude world heard in the day, lulled by the moonlight, have all passed away. Beautiful dreamer, queen of my song, lift while I woo thee with soft melody. Gone are the cares of life's busy throng. Beautiful dreamer, awake unto me. Beautiful dreamer, awake unto me. Beautiful dreamer, out on the sea, mermaids are chanting the wild glory. Over the streamlets, vapors are born, waiting to fade at the bright coming morn. Beautiful dreamer, beam on my heart, and as the moon on the streamlet and sea, then will all clouds of sorrow depart. Beautiful dreamer, awake unto me. Beautiful dreamer, awake unto me. Beautiful dreamer. Yes. Well, I came across a little thing in here that was about an hour before our show's time, so I figured I'd throw it in here. Well, if you want to call it talent, I mean, I don't know if I'd call it talent, but I guess yes, you can call it talent if you like. This is a little something I came across. I actually had the news article I was going to cover, but honestly, this fits a lot better here with the theme of the show today. Ernie Hudson talks favorite Ghostbusters film, and glad recent sequel will still feel relevant. Oh, they definitely do. I'm a huge ghost head, which is also what puts me on the show. What are we calling this now? Ghost Files? Phenomena? Files? Well, it's on Theta Zord's channel on Tuesdays. Go check it out. During a guest panel at this weekend's Indiana Comic Con, Ernie Hudson reflected on his time with the Ghostbusters franchise, and he's discussing the return to recent sequels and shedding light on the frustrating reason he didn't voice Winston Zedmore in the real Ghostbusters animated series. I know he actually tried out the voice for the character, and they actually turned him down for Arsenio Hall. Can you believe that? And no, Arsenio Hall wasn't really a big name at the time either. Streaming live, thanks to the fan charity group, the Circle Little City Ghostbuster. Hudson revisited his attempt to land in the role of in the real Ghostbusters. There was a part that ultimately went to Arsenio Hall, while he had previously addressed this disappointment, and this time he offered deeper insight into the so-called audition in process, if it could even be called that. Ooh, boy, sounds like he wasn't pretty happy with this one. Well, it wouldn't be bad if I thought that more of Arsenio was acting. Ooh, shoot. I'm kidding. Arsenio is a good friend, but yeah, I think what happened in this Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis, they usually didn't do sequels, but they would never do an animated voiceover thing. Well, Bill Murray did end up doing a voiceover for a live action in Garfield. Little connection there. Seeing as we had Lorenzo Music, Nick who was the voice of Peter. We were doing the voice of Garfield in the animated series, but maybe the assumption was the actors in the movie is me being one of them and wouldn't do it. I don't know, but I think the director of the animated series was a friend of Arsenio Hall, and he wanted Arsenio, and someone insisted they had to see me, or at least after, or, or at least offer it to me. And I went into the audition, which wasn't supposed to be an audition, and he just wanted to hear my voice. And while we were doing it, he said, "Wait, stop," he said. When Ernie Hudson did the movie in the movie, Ernie Hudson didn't do it. Ernie Hudson did it. He was explaining to me how Ernie Hudson did it, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, I think I'd be like, okay. Right there with you, Ernie. Continuing, Hudson explained that well, he stepped away from work. He returned and to find the role had already been filled, calling the entire situation nonsense. I got a little TV show. So I was out of town for about 4 days, and when I came back, they said they'd already cast the part because they heard I was working and I wouldn't be available, which is all nonsense. I think the director just wanted Arsenio, which really he kind of sucked because at the time, you remember I told you I was a single dad and I would have used the money, but man, and it is what it is. Is things work out not the way they should. I think in time. Hudson shared how time has given him a newfound appreciation for the franchise. He's admitting that even though his experience making the original Ghostbusters has had its challenges, it ultimately shaped his career, and that in time those heartaches began to make sense. Now, looking back, we've done in 5 movies now. Let's see here: Ghostbusters 2, Afterlife, Frozen Empire. No, there's only 4. I only count 4, and it's been a real blessing. But when we did the first movie, it was a challenge. And I'm from Michigan, and where I grew up, you settle little disputes in a certain way. You can't do that in Hollywood. Not if you ever want to work again. So I was like, okay, how do I fix this so I can keep moving forward? And I learned a lot from doing Ghostbusters. Sometimes you just have to stand and then your understanding and keep showing up because the world seems a little bit, but in time, it's all it'll all make sense. And Ghostbusters is one of those films that in time makes sense. The story changed a lot, but when I look at it and I look at it and like all the things I signed up to do that I and didn't get a chance to do, but now with time I realize it's a perfect movie. Just the way it is, and so sometimes you just have to live through it. I come into Indianapolis, and I see the Ghostbusters exhibit, and all the guys in their jumpsuits. Now it all kind of makes sense. But back in 1983, when we were doing it, it was like I was talking to myself. I was knocking somebody out. When asked which film in the franchise was his favorite, Hudson avoided choosing just one. Instead, it highlighting how special it was to reunite with his co-stars for Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. The older movies are more sentimental. When you make a movie, you see it later on. You remember the day you went into work. You remember the writing in the band. You remember all these little things that went on, and you're getting ready to do those scenes. Means all that stuff sort of comes back. I was a younger man, and when I did the first couple of movies, I like the newer movies because I didn't think they would ever happen. Oh, that's true. And it was great to see Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Sigourney Weaver, or Annie Pot. It's people who I've worked with people I've known for so many years, coming back together to do this thing. So they were all kinds of special, but special in different ways. And I don't know if anyone is better or worse. It's that each one is sort of uniquely special. I'm glad and that they found a way to do them, and so they felt at least relevant, as opposed to just making a movie to make a movie. I totally agree with his statement there. And while his return was undoubtedly fulfilling, Hudson clarified that one thing made it even better. It was great to come back. It was great to see everybody. It was great to be paid well. Because if I hadn't been paid well, I wouldn't have felt great. I can say all the wonderful things, but if I hadn't been paid, it would have been like, oh well, no. Not to say I wouldn't have done it, but it's just a happier set when the money is good. Money, money, money. You don't feel that. You just feel like they love you. When they don't pay you, it's just it doesn't feel good. Money isn't the only thing, but it helps you fix up the world a lot. In addition to Hudson's panel, the Circus City Ghostbusters were on site at the Indiana Comic Con and raising money for Peyton Manning's Children's Hospital, which is probably one of the best things that's come out of Ghostbusters. Is how many charity events get done through the people cosplaying as Ghostbusters. While all members could be found in suited up, they also introduced a new ghoulish attraction featuring an in-costume rendition of the Grundle, recurring ghosts from the real Ghostbusters and Extreme Ghostbusters. You can see the picture of that image right here. Can I blow that up? Oh, there we are. Actually, let's see if I can bring this into a different screen. Show that screen instead. There we are. Oh yeah, that is a good Grundle costume. Yeah, they really put a lot of work into that. That's good. All right. Yep. Seeing as we just finished that segment, it means we need to move on to the next one, which means more singing. Oh no. Oh, what song shall I mangle all this time? Skidamarink. Well, seems the randomizer is really wanting to keep the energy high tonight. That's good. Yeah, get myself a little drink here, real quick. There we are. Get the crud out of my throat. Down on the Bulla Bulla Island, where the mermaids chant, brings a big chief crocodile beneath an oyster plant. He loved to see them selfishly, queen of the gay white wave. And each night in his shell he'd go to sea, and in tuneful scales he'd rave. Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo means I love you. Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo means I'll be true. Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo. All the time he sang this rhyme. Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo means I love you. But when the midnight moon's pale, Chief Cocono came floating over with his tail to say he loved her so. But she was true to crocodile, said Coconut, go away. I know in a very little while hear my lover say, skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo, I love you. Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo, I love you. I love you in the morning and in the afternoon. I love you in the evening underneath the moon. Skidamarinka-dinka-boop, skidamarinka-doo, I love you. And of course, we always do a couple songs between segments. So picking one more here. I'm Henry VIII. Henry VIII, huh? Henry VIII. I'm Henry VIII, I am Henry VIII, I am. I got married to a wit next door. She's been married 7 times before, and all of them named Henry. Henry, she never will have some, no some. I'm her 8th old man, Henry VIII, I am. Second verse, same as the first. I'm Henry VIII, I am Henry VIII, I am, I am. I got married to a wit next door. She's been married 7 times before, and all of them named Henry. Henry, she never will have some, no some. I'm right, old man, Henry VIII, I am. Oh, I'm Henry VIII, I am, Henry VIII, I am, I am. I got married to a wit next door. She's been married 7 times before, and all of them am Henry. Henry, she will never will her some, no some. I'm right, old man, Henry VIII, I am. Henry, 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 Henry VIII, I am, I am, Henry VIII, I am. Yeah. Now, for a little movie trivia. And tonight's movie shall be Explorers. Now, this film was in a prolonged editing phase when the studio moved up the release date. The theatrical release was a result of an accelerated editing and was not finished in to the director's satisfaction. The studio told the director, Joe Dante, that he was finished, and they were going to go ahead and release what he had at that point. According to the director Joe Dante, the original rough cut of the movie that he and his editor put together was around 3 hours and 15 minutes long. Boy, I would love to see what else he added to that, because the actual movie comes in around and 142 minutes, an hour and 42 minutes there. So just think of how much more was in there. This was the film debut for both Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix. As we can see, playing the character is here. And this is out of order. Oh, anyway, the first in this film, the American Motion Picture Visual Effects Company, Industrial Light and Magic, like ILM, actually co-produced this with a major studio. So this is kind of their first debut for with working with a major studio with Industrial Light and Magic. They became pretty popular apparently. When the helicopter pilot looks at the newspaper, one of the headline says Kingston Falls riot. And it's still unexplained. Kingston Falls was the town where the events in Gremlins 1984, also directed by Joan Dante, took place. And if you're looking for it, it's right there. Let's make sure you guys are seeing this. Right there. Kingston Falls riot, still unexplained. Now, on the same newspaper that references Gremlins, there is a nod to another Dante film, The Howling, from 1981. The headline references is that a fire at the colony is suspected arson. Now, going back to here so we can see things. Where was that one? There we go. It's right up here. You can see that reference to the Howling is right there. Ew. Just know. Hey, file 13. Well, if you're just getting in here, you're gonna want to rewind a little bit because I just covered it. It's something on Ernie Hudson in that Comic Con. Dick Miller was also in this movie. And of course, you recognize him, Mr. Futterman from Gremlins, which obviously newspaper references. He's spotted it after spotting the UFO. You know, and interesting enough, he actually made in this particular film. His character, I believe they called him Charlie in this movie. Personally, I would have gone with the name Murray. He just gave more of a nod to say it was kind of suggest maybe it was the same character from Gremlins. But he actually mentions that he's also had dreams about the whole thing since he was a kid in the scene, which kind of suggests maybe the aliens had been beaming dreams into people's heads for a while. As the boys look through the junkyard for the pieces of their ship, Rosebud, the sleigh from Citizen Kane, I'm sorry for just ruining that entire movie, I know, can be seen sitting at the top of a pile. But hey, I just saved you 2 boobless hours. In Wolfgang Ing's basement, the toy monkey from the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind can be seen. I'll have to try and point this one out because it's a little small here, but the monkey is right there. Close to the prop monkey from here, so you can get a little reference. Wolfgang's talking rat is named Heinlein, after the science fiction author Robert A. Heinlein. He wrote many stories about young boys experimenting with spaceflight. I had to throw this particular tidbit of trivia in here because Robert A. Heinlein happened to be my dad's favorite science fiction author. Extra trivia for you. The boys attend Charles M. Jones Junior High School. The school is named after animator Chuck Jones. Seeing as we're talking about Frank Willer's career in a little bit here. The Star Killer science fiction film that was made up for this film parody is low-budget Italian-made Star Wars ripoff, of which the actors' voices are dubbed. We'll get into who that is on screen in a little bit, like right now. Robert Picardo, who had 3 roles: Whack, the alien dad, and Star Killer. As we can see in the end credit, they show all 3 here. The reason why he Whack wears a fur coat in his first scene and takes it all off in the following scene is that the movie's production schedule was so rushed that the suit for Whack was not yet complete by the time they had to film it. So they're actually covering up bits of the suit that were unfinished here with his fur coat he's wearing. And they just have him take it off in the next scene. Actually, kind of brilliant, to be honest. When Robert Picardo was in full makeup, in costume as Whack, his mouth was the only part of him not completely covered, though his mouth was made up to blend in with Whack's face. Now, this one I thought was kind of interesting. I kind of selected this one because you can kind of you see this mouth there, and well, I always assume was to blend in as some nostrils, or actually Robert Picardo's eyes right around here. You can kind of see him blinking, moving, looking around in some of the shots if you look closely. Robert Picardo, who says the alien makeup is the most uncomfortable he has ever worn. Really, even more uncomfortable than in the Bog Witch and Legend. That's interesting. The Whack makeup is like having a typewriter balanced on his head, and the father was like balancing a television. While the crew were enjoying lunch, and would have to sit there and take the pain which drew him into tears and actually it caused this open lesion on his head. Damn, that is uncomfortable. Although Robert Picardo received the acting credit for the father alien, and the voice for the father alien was actually provided by Frank Welker. Welker also provided some of the voice over work for Whack, although the rest of the dialogue was performed by Picardo. Welker's voice is heard usually when Whack does a celebrity impression. Something to keep in mind, and while you're listening to him doing stuff in that movie. The computer that was used to make the scene display for Wolfgang's computer was not an Apple II LLC. It was in CGI IRA is one 1,400 workstation that cost $35,000. It contained the 73 megabyte hard drive. Basically, this thing was like a supercomputer at the time, and 1.85 megabyte of memory, weighing about 130 pounds, and so required a custom and portable wooden crate to house it on set. The movie needed a program written in C language that could redraw a 3D wire airframe scene in real time, a feat not possible before CGI produced the specialized hardware. The movement of the energy sphere on screen was controlled by a mouse and happened in real time for each scene and take, in response to the director's instructions. The refresh rate of the monitor was modified to synchronize with the motion picture camera to eliminate flicker. By tapping into one of the circuit board into the workstation and use a Unix-based operating system. This was a movie that was released by Paramount, and while on the alien ship, there is a quick montage of television shows. The Paramount logo can be seen here. It's seen again during the credits when Robert Picardo's character is credited. And this is where it's first seen in this shot, and you can see a slightly different take in the snick in the scene during the end credits here. Yeah, I thought this would be good to finish this off with a little bit of where are they now? Ethan Hawke is, of course, the most successful actor out of the bunch, with his breakthrough performance in Dead Poets Society. And, of course, he's still acting today. River Phoenix passed away in 1993 at the age of 23 from acute multiple drug intoxication involving lethal levels of cocaine and morphine. Probably not a great combination to take. He was in the middle of filming the movie Dark Blood, which couldn't be finished at the time. Because there were a number of unfilmed crucial scenes. In 2011, the director who had held onto the footage that was shot re-edited the material and finished the movie, releasing it in 2012. So maybe a little movie you need to go check out if you haven't seen it. Finally, Jason Preston, who we see here, and he sure did fill out over the years. Yeah, he retired from acting in the late 1990s with his last made-for-TV movie, Trials of Life, in 1997. He went on to become a hospital nurse in Lancaster, California, in the Antelope Valley. Not a bad career shift. I mean, you're helping to take care of people. And that is the end of my trivia. Oh, okay, we have some people showing up. Hello, Purple and Deep State Annex. Nice to have you here. You haven't missed this. All you've missed was some terrible singing, some crochet artwork, Ernie Hudson and statements about Ghostbusters. Here's Frank Welker. Here's tribute. And the flying monkeys. You always miss the flying monkeys. I get myself some water after that. But we're moving into some of the last bit here. It looks like, and that's the wrong thing. Let's get the right thing. There we are. That's the right thing. Plug your ears, people. What we got here? Must have been a beautiful baby. Alright. You must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a wonderful child. When you were only starting to go to kindergarten, I bet you drove the little boys wild. And when it came to winning blue ribbons, you must have shown the other kids how. I can see the judge's eyes as they handed you the prize. You must have made the cutest bow. Oh, you must have been a beautiful baby, 'cause baby, look at you now. Does your mother realize the stork delivered quite a prize the day he left you on the family tree? Does your dad appreciate that you're merely super great, the miracle of any century? If they don't, just send them both to me. Oh, you must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a wonderful child. When you were only starting to go to kindergarten, I bet you drove the little boys wild. And when it came to winning blue ribbons, you must have shown the other kids how. I can see the judge's eyes as they handed you the prize. I bet you made the cutest bow. Oh, you must have been a beautiful baby, 'cause baby, look at you now. Don't tell me I forgot to take the wheel off. I forgot to take the wheel off. Oh, I didn't do crochet. It was another artist. Is you can go check out who they are when you watch the replay. Though I really should learn how to crochet. I have a cousin who knows how to crochet, and well, I do have yarn here. Thanks to a certain and sloth of being nice enough to give me some knitting supplies, which I still am struggling to learn. Gotta do one more song, of course. I love you truly. All right, that's a short one. That works. Starting to get into time here. I love you truly, truly, dear. Life with its sorrow, life with its tear, fade into dreams when I feel you near. For I love you truly, truly, dear. Ah, love, 'tis something to feel your kind hand. Ah, yes, 'tis something by your side to stand. Gone is the sorrow, gone doubt and fear, for you love me truly, truly, dear. Yeah, and I am joined by someone here. Who do we have here? I believe it is a doggo who is wanting pets. So that means we have to put up something here. That looks like a good one. That one. Do. Let's see. There we are. Slight technical difficulty. Thanks to the changes StreamYard's made to things. That was Molly playing with her birthday present. I think I may have put something in there for the play with as a treat. I got that at the Three Dogs Bakery for her, along with a cake. Moving on to the last thing, our last segment for the night is the next chapter in H.G. Wells' Time Machine. In another moment, and I was in a passion of fear, and running with great leaping strides down on the slope. Once I fell headlong and cut my face. I lost no time in stanching in the blood, but just jumped up and ran on, and with a warm trickle down my cheek and chin. And all the time I ran, and I was saying to myself, if they have moved it a little, pushed it under the bush is out of the way. Nevertheless, I ran and with all my might, all the time, and with the certainty that sometimes comes with excessive dread. I knew that such assurance was folly. Knew instinctively that the machine was moved out of my reach. My breath came with pain. I suppose I covered the whole distance from the hill crest to the little lawn, and 2 miles perhaps in 10 minutes. And I am not a young man. I cursed aloud as I ran, and at my confident folly in leaving the machine and wasting good breath thereby. I cried aloud, and none answered. Not a creature seemed to be stirring in that moonlit world. When I reached the lawn, my worst fears were realized. Not a trace of the thing was to be seen. I felt faint and could cold when I faced the empty space among the black tangle of bushes. I ran and around furiously, as if the thing might be hidden in a corner, and then stopped abruptly, with my hands clutching my hair above of me. He towered near the Sphinx, and upon the bronze pedestal, white, shining leprechaun, rests in the light of the rising moon. It seemed him to smile in mockery of my dismay. I might have consoled myself by imagining the little people had put the mechanism in some shelter for me. Had I not felt assured of their physical and intellectual inadequacy. That is what dismayed me. The sense of some hitherto unsuspected power, the whose intervention may invent intervention in my invention had vanished. Yet, for one thing, I felt assured that unless some other age had produced its exact duplicate, the machine could not have been have moved in time. The attachment of the lever, as I will show you the method later, prevented anyone from tampering with it in the way when they were removed. It had moved and was hid only in space, but then where could it be? I think I must have had a kind of frenzy. I remember running violently in and out of among the moonlit brushes all around the Sphinx, and startling some white animal, well, that in the dim light I took for a small deer. I remember her too late that night, beating the bushes with my clenched fists until my knuckles were gashed and bleeding from the broken twigs. Then, sobbing and raving in my anguish of mind, I went down into the great building of stone. The big hall was dark, silent, and deserted. I slipped on the uneven floor and fell over one of the uh, malachine tables, almost breaking my shin. A lit match went on past the dusty curtains of which I have told you. There I found the second great hall, all covered with cushions, upon which perhaps a score of so of the little people were sleeping. I have no doubt that they found my second appearance strange enough, coming suddenly out of the quiet darkness with inarticulate noises and the sputter and flare of a match. For they had forgotten about how matches were. Where is my time machine? I began, and bawling like an angry child, laying hands upon them and shaking them up together. It must have been very queer to them. Some laughed. Most of them looked sorely frightened. When I saw them standing around me, it came into my head that I was doing as foolish a thing as it was possible for me to do under the circumstances. I'm trying to revive the sensation of fear, for reasoning from their delight behavior, or I thought that fear must be forgotten. Abruptly, I dashed down on the match and knocking one of the people over in my core and blundering across the big dining hall again. Out under the moonlight, I heard her cries of terror and the little feet running and stumbling this way and that. I do not remember all I did as the moon crept up the sky. I suppose it was the unexpected nature of my law that and me. I felt hopelessly cut off from my own kind, a strange animal in an unknown world. I must have raved to and fro, screaming and crying upon on God and fate. I have a memory of horrible fatigue as a long night of despair wore away, of looking in this impossible place and that, of groping among moonlit ruins and touching strange creatures in the black shadows, at last of lying on the ground near the Sphinx and weeping with absolute wretchedness. I had nothing left but misery. Then I slept, and when I woke again, it was full day, and a couple of sparrows were hopping around on me on the turf within reach of my arm. I sat up in the freshness of the morning, and trying to remember how I had gotten there, and when I had such a profound sense of desertion and despair. Then and things came clear in my mind. with a plain, reasonable little daylight, I could look my circumstances fairly in the face. I saw the wild folly of my frenzy overnight, and I could reason in with myself. Suppose the worst, I said. Suppose this machine altogether lost, perhaps destroyed. It behooves me to be calm and patient and to learn the way of the people to get a clear idea of the method of my loss and the means of getting materials and tools, so that in the end, perhaps I may make another. That would be my only hope, perhaps, but better than in despair. And after all, it was a beautiful and curious world. But probably the machine had only been taken away. Still, I must be calm and patient, find its hiding place, and recover it by force or cunning. And with that, I scrambled to my feet and looked about me, wondering where I could bathe. I felt weary, stiff, and travel soiled. The freshness of the morning made me desire an equal freshness. I had it exhausted in my emotion. Indeed, as I went about my business, I found myself wondering at my intense excitement into overnight. I made a careful examination of the ground and about the little lawn. I wasted some time in futile questioning and conveyed as well as I was able to such of the little people as came by. They all failed to understand my gestures. Some were simply stolid. Some thought it was a jest and laughed at me. I had the hardest task in the world to keep my hands off their pretty uh, laughing faces. It was a foolish impulse, but the devil begotten in a fear and blinding anger was ill curbed, and still eager to take advantage of my perplexity. The turf gave better counsel. I found a groove ripped in it, about midway between the pedestal and the Sphinx. The marks of my feet were on arrival. I had struggled with the overturned machine. There were other signs of removal all about, with queer narrow footprint, and it's like those I could imagine made by a sloth. This directed in my closest attention into the pedestal. It was, as I think I have said, of bronze. It was not a mere block, but highly decorated, with deep framed panels was on either side. I went and rapped at these. The pedestal was hollow. Examining the pedestal with care, I found them discontinuous with the frames. There were no handles or keyholes, but possibly the panels, if they were doors, as I supposed, open from within. One thing was clear enough to my mind, and it took no very great mental effort to infer that my time machine was inside that pedestal. But how it got there was a different problem. I saw the heads of the two orange-clad people coming through the bushes under some blossom covered apple trees east towards me. I turned smiling to them and beckoned them to me. They came and then pointed to the bronze pedestal. I tried to initiate intimate my wish to open it, but at my first gesture towards this, they behaved very oddly. I don't know how to convey their expression to you. Suppose you were to you is a grossly improper gesture to a delicate yet minded woman. It is how she would look. They went all off as if they had that, and I just lost my place. They went all off as if they had received the last as possible little insult. I tried a sweet, neat-looking little chap in white next with the exact like the same result. Somehow his manner made me feel ashamed of myself. But as you know, I wanted the time machine, and I tried to hit him once more. As he turned off like the other, as my temper got the better of me. In three strides, I was after him and had him by the loose part of his robe around on the neck, and began dragging him towards the Sphinx. Then I saw the horror and repugnance of his face, and all of a sudden I let him go. But I was not beaten yet. I banged with my fist at the bronze panels, as I thought I heard something stir inside. To be explicit, I thought I heard a sound like a chuckle, but I must have been mistaken. Then I got a big pebble from the river, and came and hammered till I had flattened the coil and the decorations, and the verdigris just came off in powdery flakes. The delicate yet little people must have heard me hammering in gustly outbreaks a mile away on either hand, but nothing came of it. I saw a crowd of them upon the slope, looking furtively at me. At last, hot and tired, I sat down to watch the place, but I was too restless to watch long. I am too occidental for a long vigil. Well, I could work a problem for years, but to wait inactive for 24 hours, this is another matter. I got up from a time and began walking aimlessly through the bushes toward the hill again. Patient, said I to myself. If you want your machine again, then you must leave that Sphinx alone. They mean to take your machine in a way. It's little good you're wrecking their bronze panels. If they don't, you will get it back as soon as you can, and that's for it. To sit among all those unknown things before a puzzle like that is hopeless. That way he lies is monomania. Face this world. Learn its ways. Is watch it. Be careful of two who hastily guesses is at its meaning. In the end, and you will find clues to it all. Then suddenly the humor of the situation came into my mind. The thoughts of this year I had spent in study and toil to get into the future age, and now my passion of anxiety to get out of it. I had made myself the most complicated and the most hopeless trap that ever a man devised, although it was at my own expense, and so I could not help myself. I laughed aloud. Going through the big palace, it seemed to me that the little people avoided me. It may have been my fancy, or it may have had something to do with my hammering at the gates of bronze. Yet I felt tolerably sure of the avoidance. I was careful, however, to show no concern and to abstain from any pursuit of them. And in the course of a day or two, things got back to the old footing. I made what progress I could in the language, and in addition, I pushed my exploration here and there. Either I missed some subtle point, or their language was excessively simple, almost exclusively composed of concrete, substantive, and verbs. There seemed to be few, if any, abstract terms, or little use of figurative language. Their sentences were usually simple and of two words, and I fail to convey or understand any but the simplest propositions. I determined to put the thought out of my a time machine in the mystery of the bronze door is under the Sphinx as much as possible in a corner of memory until my growing knowledge would lead me back to them in a natural way. Yet a certain feeling you may understand and tethered me in a circle of a few miles round on the point of my arrival. So far, or as I could see, all the world all displayed had the same exuberant richness as the Thames Valley. From every hill, I climbed, and I saw all the same abundant and so splendid hid buildings, endlessly varied in material and style, all the same clustering in thick thickets of evergreens, and the same blossom laden trees and tree ferns. Here and there, your water shone like silver and beyond on the land and rose into blue undulating hills, and so faded into the serenity of the sky. A particular feature which presently attracted my attention was the presence of certain circular wells, several, as it seemed to me, of a very great depth. One and lay by the path up the hill, which I had followed during my first walk. Like the others, it was rimmed with bronze, curiously wrought and protected by a little cupola from the rain. Sitting by the side of these wells. Okay, I just hope I hope I don't lose power. My lights just flickered. Sitting by these wells and peering down and into the shaft's darkness. Excuse me. Oh. Shaft's darkness. Yes, I could see no gleam of water, nor could I stir any reflection in the light did match. But in all of them, I heard a certain sound, a thud, 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 like the beating of some big engine. And I discovered from the flaring of my matches that a steady current of air set down in the shafts. Further, I drew a scrap of paper into the throat of one, and instead of fluttering slowly down, when it was at once sucked swiftly out of sight. After a time, I came to connect these wells with tall old towers standing in here and there upon on the slopes from above them, and there was often in just such a flicker in the air as one sees is on a hot day above a sun-scorched beach. Putting things together, reached a strong suggestion of an extensive system of subterranean ventilation, in whose true import it was difficult to imagine. I was at first inclined to associate it with the sanitary apparatus of these people. It was an obvious conclusion, but it was obviously wrong. And here I must admit that I heard very little of drains and bells, and modes of conveyance and the like conveniences during my time in this real future. In some of these visions of utopia, this and coming in times, in which I have read, and there is a vast amount of detail about building and social arrangements and so forth. But while all such which details are easy enough to obtain, and when the whole world is contained in one's imagination, and they are altogether inaccessible to a real traveler amid such trivialities. He says, I found here. Conceive ye the tale of London, which a I'll have to use his term is outdated Negro, who fresh ish from Central Africa, would take back to his tribe. Uh, what would he know of railway companies, of social movements, of telephone and telegraph wires, of the parcel delivered company, and postal orders and the like? Yet we at last should be willing enough to explain these things to him, and even of what he knew, how much could he make his untraveled old friend and either apprehend and or believe. Then think how narrow the gap between he and a Negro and a white man and of our own times, and how wide the interval between myself and these of the golden age. I was sensible of much which was unseen, and which contributed to my comfort, but save for a general impression of automatic organization, and I fear here I can convey very little of the different to your mind. In the matter of skill, specular, sure, of instance, I could see no signs of crematorial nor anything suggestive of tombs. But it occurred to me that possibly there might be cemeteries or crematoria somewhere beyond the range of my exploring. This again was a question I deliberated upon to myself, and my curiosity was at first entirely defeated on the point. The thing puzzled me, and I was led to make a further remark, which puzzled me still a little more. That Egyptian affirmed among this people, there were none. I must confess that my satisfaction in with my first theory is of an automatic civilization, the cadent in humanity. He did not long endure. Yeah, I could think of no other. Or let me put my difficulties. The several little big palaces as I had explored were mere living places, great dining halls and sleeping apartments. I could find no machinery, no appliances of any kind. Yet these people were clothed in pleasant fabrics, except my set time names need renewal, and in their sandals through inquiry into were fairly complex specimens of metalwork. Somehow, such things must have been made, and the little people displayed no vestige of a create vestige of creative tendency. There were no shops, no workshops, no sign of importation in among them. They spent all their time in playing gently, and in bathing in the river, and making love in a half playful fashion, in eating fruit and sleeping. I could not see how things were kept going. Then again, about the time machine, something I knew not what had taken into the hollow pedestal of the white sphinx. Why? For the life of me, I could not imagine. Those waterless wells too. Those flickering pillars. As I felt they lacked a clue. I felt how shall I put it? Suppose you found an inscription, and with sentences is here and there, here in excellent and plain in English, interpolated there within, and other is made up of words, of letters, is even absolutely unknown to you. Well, on the third day of my visit, that was is how the world would have eight 800 and 2,701 presented itself to me. The day the day too I made a friend of a sort. It happened that day too I made a friend of a sort. It happened that as I was watching some of the little people bathing in a shallow, one of them was seized with cramp and began drifting downstream. The main current ran rather swiftly, but not too strongly for even a moderate swimmer. It will give you an idea, therefore, of the strain to find and see in these creatures when I tell you that none of them made the slightest attempt to rescue the weakly crying little thing which was drowning before their eyes. When I realized this, I hurriedly slipped off my clothes and waded it in at a point lower down, and I caught the poor her mite and drew her safe to land. A little rubbing of the limb and soon brought her around, and then I had the satisfaction of seeing she was all right before I left her. I had got so much low estimate of her kind that I did not expect any gratitude from her. In that, however, I was wrong. This happened, and in the morning, and in the afternoon, when I met my little woman, and as I believed it was, as I was returning towards my center from an exploration, and she received me with cry as of delight, and presented me with a big garland and the flowers, evidently made for me in me alone. The thing took with my imagination. Very possibly I had been feeling desolate. At any rate, I did my best to display my appreciation of the gift. We were soon seated together in a little stone arbor, engaged in conversation, and chiefly of smiles. The creature's friendliness affected me exactly as a child might have done, and we passed each other her flowers, and he kissed my hands. I did the same to hers. Then I tried a talk and found that her name was Weena, which though I did in which I though I don't know what it meant, somehow seemed appropriate enough. That was the beginning of our queer friendship, which lasted a week. You can end it as I will tell you. She was exactly like a child. She wanted to be with me always. She tried to follow me everywhere, and on my next journey out and about, it went into my heart to tire her down and leave me for at last, exhausted in calling after me rather plaintively. But the problems of the world had to be mastered. I had not, I said to myself, come into the future to carry on a miniature flirtation. Yet her distress when I left her was very great. Her her explanations at the parting were sometimes frantic, and can I think altogether her had as much trouble as comfort from her devotion. Nevertheless, she was somehow a very great comfort. I thought it was mere childish affection, and that made her cling to me until it was too late. I did not clearly know what I had inflicted upon on her when I left her, nor until it was too late did I clearly understand what she was to me. For by merely seeming fond of me, she showing in her weak, futile way that she cared for me. The little doll, all of a creature, presently gave my return into the neighborhood of the white sphinx almost as a feeling of coming home. I could I would watch for her tiny figure of white and gold as soon as I came over the hill. It was from her too that I learned and that fear had not yet left the world. She was fearless enough in the daylight, but she had the oddest confidence in me. For once, in a foolish moment, I made threatening grimaces at her, and she simply laughed at them. But she dreaded the dark, dreaded shadows, dreaded black things. Darkness to her was the one thing dreadful. It was a singularly passionate emotion. It set at me thinking and observing. And I discovered then, and among other things, that these little people gathered into the great houses after dark and slept up in droves. To enter upon them, and without a light, it was to put uh, them into a tumult of apprehension. I never found one out of doors, or one sleeping alone and within indoors, after dark. Yet I was still such a blockhead that I missed the lesson of that fear, and in spite of Winez his distress as I insisted upon sleeping away from these slumbering multitudes. In trouble, her great it troubled her greatly, but in the end, her odd affection for me triumphed, and for 5 of the nights, nights of her acquaintance, including the last night of all, she slept with her head pillowed on my arm. But my story slips away from me as I speak of her. It must have been in the night before her rescue that I was awakened, and about dawn. I had been restless and streaming most disagreeably that I was drowned, and that at sea didn't get the gnat. Now where was I? Trying to see, and I'm in as we're feeling over her my face with the soft of palps. I woke with a start, and with an odd fancy that some grayish animal had just stretched out of the chamber. I tried to get to sleep again, but I felt restless and uncomfortable. It was that dim gray hour when things are just creeping out of darkness, when everything is colorless and clear cut, and yet unreal. I got up and went down into the great hall, and so out upon the flagstone in front of the play. Alice, I thought, well, I would make a virtue of necessity and see the sunrise. The moon was setting in the dying moonlight, in the this pallor of dawn, and were mingled in a ghastly half light. The bushes were inky black, like the ground under the somber gray, and the sky colorless and cheerless. And up the hill, I thought could see ghosts. There were several times as I scanned in the slope. Up I saw white figures. It was twice I fancied it I saw a solitary white ape-like creature running around rather quickly up the hill, and once near the ruins I saw a leash of them and carrying some dark body. They moved hastily. I did not see what became of them. It seemed that they vanished among the bushes. The dawn was still indistinct, yet you must understand, and I was feeling that chill, uncertain and early morning feeling you may have known. I uh, doubted my eyes. As the eastern sky grew brighter, in the light of the day, it came in its vivid color, returned upon the world once more. I scanned in the view keenly, but I saw no vestige of my white figures. They were mere creatures of the half light. They must have been ghosts, I said, wondering where they he he dated. Once they dated, for a queer notion of Grant and Allen's came into my head. It amused me of each generation in dim and leaving ghosts. He argued that the world that last will get overcrowded with and on that theory they would have grown innumerable, well, some 800,000 years hence, and it was no great wonder to see four at once. But the jest was unsatisfying, and I was thinking of these figures all the morning until Winnie's his rescue drove them out of my head. I associated them in some indefined, indefinite way with the white animal who I had startled in my first passionate search for the time machine. But Winna uh, was a pleasant substitute, yet all the same, they were soon destined to take far deadlier possession of my mind. I think I have said how much ch- hotter than in our own was the weather of this golden age. I cannot account for it. It may have be that the sun was hotter, or the earth nearer the sun, and it is usual to assume that the sun will go on cooling steadily in the future. But people who are unfamiliar with such speculation, as those of the younger Darwin, and forget that the planets must ultimately fall back one by one and into the parent body as these catastrophes occur. The sun will blaze with renewed energy, and it may be that some inner planet it had suffered this fate, whatever the reason. And the fact remains that the sun is very much hotter than we know it. Well, one very hot morning in my fourth Earth, I think, because was seeking shelter from the heat and glare in a colossal ruin near the great heat house where I slept and fed. There happened in this strange thing. Clambering among heaps of masonry, he found a narrow gallery whose end and inside made windows were blocked by fallen masses of stone. By contrast with the brilliance outside, it seemed at first impenetrably dark to me. I entered, heard its groping for the change from light to blackness. It's made its spots of color swim before me. Suddenly I halted, spellbound, and a pair of eyes, luminous but reflection against the daylight, without was watching me out of the darkness. The old instinctive dread of wild beasts came upon on me. I clenched my hands and steadfastly looked into the glaring eyeballs. I was afraid to turn. Then, in the thought of the absolute security in which humanity appeared to be living and came into my mind, and then I remembered that strange terror of the dark. Overcoming my fear to some extent, I advanced a step up and spoke. I will admit that my voice was harsh and ill controlled. I put I put out my hand and touched something soft. At once, the eyes darted sideways, and something in white ran and past me. I turned, and with my heart in my mouth, and saw a queer little ape-like figure. Its head it held down in a particular manner, running across the sunlit space behind me. It blundered against a block of granite, staggering aside, and in a moment and was hidden in a black shadow beneath another pile of ruined masonry. My impression of it is of course imperfect, but I know it was a dull white and had its strange in large grayish red eyes. Also, that there were flax's hair here on its head and down on its back, but as I say, it went in too fast for me to see distinctly. I cannot even say whether it ran and out on all fours or only with its forearms held very low. After an instant, in, after instances pause, as I followed it into the second heap of ruins. I could not find it at first, but after a time, in the profound obscurity, I came upon on one of those round and well-liked openings of which I have told you, half closed by a fallen pillar. A sudden thought came to me: could this thing have vanished down on the shaft? I lit a match, and looking down, I saw a small, all-white moving creature with large, bright eyes, which regarded me as he steadfastly. As it retreated, it made me shudder. It was so like a human spider. It was clambering down the wall. Oh, now I saw, for the first time, a number of metal foot and hand rests is forming a kind of ladder down the shaft. Then the light burned in my fingers and fell out of my hand, and going out as it dropped. And then I had it lit another, the little monster had disappeared. I do not know how long I sat peering down on that well. I had it was not for some time that I could succeed in persuading myself that the thing I had seen was human, but gradually the truth dawned on me that man had not remained in one species, but had differentiated into the two distinct animals. That my great full children of the upper world were not the sole descendants of our generation, but that this bleached, each obscene nocturnal thing, which had flashed before me, he was also heir to all the ages. I thought of the flickering pillars of my theory of an underground this installation, and I began to suspect they're true important. And what had I wondered was Luminar doing in my scheme of a perfectly balanced organization. How was it related to the idolent serenity of the beautiful upper world holders? And what is hidden down there or at the foot of that shaft? I sat upon the edge of the well, telling myself that at any rate there's nothing to fear, and that there I must descend and for the solution of my difficulties, and with all I was absolutely afraid to go. As I hesitated, two of the beautiful upper world people came running in their amorous sport across the daylight. In the shadow, they may pursued the female, flinging flowers at her as he ran. They seemed distressed as to find me in my arm against the overturned pillar, peering down on the well. Apparently, it was considered bad form to remark these apertures. As for when I pointed to this one and tried to frame a question about it in their tongue, and they were still more visibly distressed and turned away. But they were interested by my matches, and I struck some to amuse them. I tried them again about the well, and again, and I failed. So presently I left them, meaning to go back to Ina and see what I could get from her. But my mind was already in revolution, and my guesses, his impressions were slipping and sliding into a new adjustment, and I had now a clue to the importance of these wells, instead of ventilating in tower, instead of the misery of the ghosts, to say nothing of of a hint at the meaning of the Bronze Gates and the fate of the time machine. And very vaguely, there came a suggestion towards as a solution of the economic problem that it had puzzled me. Here was the new view. Plainly, he the second in species of man and the subterranean, and there were three circumstances, as in particular, which made me think that its rare emergence above ground and was the outcome of a long, uncontinued underground habit. In the first place, there was the bleached look common in most animals that live largely in the dark in the white fish of the Kentucky River caves, use for instance, and when those large eyes, use with the capacity for reflecting light are common in features as of nocturnal things. Witness is the owl and the cat, and last of all that evident in confusion and in the sunshine, and that hastily yet fumbling awkward reflect toward into the dark shadow. That particular carriage of the head, while all in light, all reinforce the theory of an extreme sensitiveness of the retina. Beneath my feet, then in the earth must be tunnel enormously in these tunnelings for the habitat of the new race. The presence of ventilating shafts and wells along the hill slopes everywhere, or in fact, except up along in the river valley. He showed how universal were its ramifications. And it's what that's so natural then, and as to assume that it was those in the artifact actual underworld that such work as was necessary to the confront of the daylight race. This was done. The notion was so implausible that I at once accepted it and went on to assume the house of splitting of the human species. I dare say you will anticipate the shape of my theory, though for myself very soon and felt that it felt far short of the truth. At first, proceeding from the problems of our own age, it seemed clear as daylight to me that the gradual widening of the present and merely temporary and social difference between the capitalistic and the laborer was the key into the whole position. No doubt it will seem grotesque enough to you and wildly incredible, and yet even now there are existing circumstances to the point that way. There is a tendency to utilize his underground space for the less ornamental purposes of civilization, and there is a metropolitan railway in London, and for instance, since there are new electric railway, there are subway, there are underground and work route, and restaurants, and some they increase and multiply. Evidently, he had thought of this tendency he had increased till industry. He had gradually lost its bright birthright in the sky. I mean that it had gone deeper and deeper into larger and ever larger underground factories, spending a still increasing amount of its time in there till in the end. Even now, does not an East End worker live in such artificial conditions as particularly need to be cut off from the natural surface of the earth? Again, in the exclusive of tendency of rich people will do no doubt to the increasing refinement and of their education and their winding gulf between them and their rude violence of the poor who is already leading into the closing in interest of considerable portions of the surface of the land. And about London, for instance, perhaps half the prettier country is shut against intrusion, and in this same widening gulf, which is due to the length and the expanse of the higher educational process and the increased facility is for temptation towards refined and habits is on the part of the rich. Well, will make them an exchange between class and class. The promotion in by intermarriage, which at present retards the splitting of our species, these long line means of social stratification, less and less frequent, and so in the end, in the above group, you must have the haves pursuing pleasure and comfort, earth and beauty, and below ground, and the have nots. The worker is getting and continually adapted to the conditions of their labor. Once they were there, they would no doubt have to pay rent, and not a little of it for the ventilation of their caverns. And if they refuse, they would starve or be suffocated for rears. Such of them as were so constituted as to be miserable and rebellious as would die, and in the end the balance being permanent. The survivor would become as well adapted to the conditions of underground life and as happy in their way as the upper world people were to theirs, as it seemed to me the refined in beauty and titillated parlor followed naturally enough. The great triumph of humanity I had dreamed of took a different shape in my mind. It had been no such triumph of moral education in general cooperation as I had imagined. Instead, I saw a real arti- aristocracy armed with perfected science and worked to a logical conclusion. And the industrial system of a 2 day its triumph had not been simply a triumph over nature, but a triumph over nature and the fellow man. This I must warn you was my theory at the time. I had no conventional surround in the pattern of the utopian in books. My explanation may be absolutely wrong. I still think it is the most plausible one. But even in on this position in the balanced civilization, and that was at last attained, he must have lost since past its zenith, and then was now are falling into the decay. The too perfect security of the upper worlders had led them into a slow movement of degradation, into a general dwindling in size, strength, and intelligence that I could see clearly enough already. But had it happened into the undergrounders, I did not yet suspect. But from what I had seen in the Morlocks, that the by was the name by which these creatures were called. I could imagine that the modification the modification of the human type it was even far more profound than among the Eloi, the beautiful race that I already knew. Then came trouble and some doubts. Why had the Morlocks taken my time machine? For I felt not sure it was they who had taken it. Why too, if the Eloi they were her masters, could they not restore the machine to me? And why were they so terribly afraid of the dark? I proceeded, as I have said, to question Renee about this underworld, but have your Again, I was disappointed. At first, she would not understand my questions, and presently she refused to answer them. She sure referred at as though the topic was unendurable, and when I pressed her, perhaps a little harshly, she burst into tears. They were the only tears except my own, and I ever saw in that golden age. When I saw them, my he ceased abruptly to trouble about with the Morlocks, and was only concerned in vanishing in the signs of the human inheritance from Winnie's eyes. And very soon she was smiling and clapping her hand, and while I solemnly burned in the match. And that concludes chapter 3. And I'm only 20 minutes over my time. I am now. So, thank you for listening. If you happen to have any stories, please send them my way. And here is a link to Theta Sword's show, which he set the time aim to 10:30, so we'll just finishing just on time here now. Great. I hear this is going to be a special show tonight, 8 from Theta Sword, so go check that out. I hope you enjoy everything. Be excellent to each other and party on.